I mean, just how dramatic the rear brake rotor is. Rotor on it. And how light this car feels. And everything is like super responsive too.
Perfect.
If you're new here, welcome to the AutoLess YouTube channel. If you're already an AutoLess family member, thank you. And what's swinging, gang? We jumping lanes today, and we back on Sasha. As you can see, I'm laced in her beautiful red interior, and we're doing one of the most potent mods that I could possibly do to this car. If you remember in a couple of videos back, I did the F10 M5 front brake swap for Sasha, which keeps her factory caliper but allows me to use the 400 millimeter, you heard that right, 400 millimeter brake rotor and the F10's M5 bigger brake pads on the F86 and F85, X6M and X5M. So I did that, and the weight savings is crazy. You know, they're supposed to be 12 pounds each side of rotational mass saved. That's what they're supposed to be, but they were a lot more than that. If you guys want to see that upgrade video, I'm going to have a link down in the description for upgrading my front brakes. But today is getting even sicker than that. You talking about unsprung weight savings, and I mean, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. You never seen an 18-inch drag radial on an SUV ever. Maybe on a Trackhawk or an X3 or something like that, that comes with a smaller brake rotor and caliper in the rear, but never on a full-size SUV until now. So let's get out here and let me show you exactly this crazy stuff I'm talking about.
Here are those massive M5 rotors. I mean, you can't even see the dust shield behind this wheel. I mean, behind the rotor. You can't see the dust shield. And the X6M comes with a huge front rotor and dust shield from the factory. But this new 400 millimeter rotor, you can't even see the dust shield anymore. And I can promise you that the dust shield is on the car, but that's just how big that rotor is. I mean, and the steering is so light that, I mean, it's almost hard. You have to relearn how to drive this car because the steering wheel isn't heavy anymore because it doesn't have all of that mass up front, which is better for my quarter-mile time when it's time to kick ass. All right, let's get back to this rear wheel. As you can see, Sasha is still sporting the OEM rear brake caliper and rear rotor, but we're gonna change that today for the first time ever in the world. And to do that, we have F10, not F10, I apologize. We have F15, F16 rear rotors, and they are brand new. You know, I just left them out in the garage, and you know, it's not temperature controlled in here, so they started to, well, the coating on it has like a geomet coating, I think it's called. You know, the iron is starting to come through it, or whatever the rotors are made out of. But you know, a couple of stops and all that's gonna wear off anyways because they are brand new. You can still see the cross hatches in them. We have brand new pads to match the smaller rotors. We have brand new hardware, and I like Power Stop. Power Stop actually includes all of these factory like rubber bushings and plastic caps and stuff. You know, you still have to use your factory pins, which I cleaned everything up. And then I have my set of, you know, carriers here, my rotor houses here, you know, and that's, if you ever wondered what the 44/20 is, that's the actual piston diameter. You know, I think it's 44 millimeters or something like that. And then we have the rest of the caliper here. And I actually bought these from Amazon, and these are supposed to let you plug any of the brake lines while you're doing this job. I'm still gonna, you know, bleed the brakes once the job is done, but that'll make it a lot cleaner. And I actually bought these little plugs here too. I pushed all the fluid out, but you know, that's just to let you see, you know, that you can plug these off too. I had a link down in the description for everything available if this works, because like I said, I mean, Olivia has a lot going on here too. All of this stuff belongs to her, so she's gonna be crazy too. But back on Sasha, all of this stuff is a world's first. It's never been done before. So if it works, I will add the links down to the description, and I'm gonna let you know exactly the weight savings versus this caliper and rotor and brake pad versus the factory caliper, rotor, and brake pad, and see how much weight savings I'll be able to save on the rear while being able to get an 18-inch wheel on the rear with the Mickey Thompson R tire. You know, way stickier compound than the SS tire. So let's get these wheels off.
A few moments later.
Now that I have the wheels off, and I also had to take my, let me pop this in the camera, my H&R spacers off as well, because I used a 25 millimeter H&R spacer because I went with the squared setup. I no longer have a staggered setup on this car. It's 10.5 inch, 20 inch wheels. Well, 10.5 inch in width, 20 inch wheels on all four corners of Sasha. So she needed to be spaced out in the rear because the offset came all the same for some odd, weird reasons. So, but you can see how dramatic I mean, just how dramatic the rear brake rotor is versus, you know, the new one. I mean, it's way bigger. It's huge compared to the two. Also, the stock brake rotor comes with an aluminum center section. It's a two-piece rotor, and the new rear rotor doesn't. So you would think that it's heavier, but in my theory, I'm thinking it's lighter. So, but we're gonna find out here soon. So let me take these rotors off so we can get everything on the scale. That's a massive difference. If you didn't notice the massive difference on the car, when I had it next to it, you can definitely see it now. It's crazy. And even, I don't have the full caliper together on this side, but I think it looks similarly sized, but it's a different part number, so it can't be the same caliper. But we're gonna weigh the caliper and the rotor directly on this nice scale. Let me turn it on, let you guys see. This is the factory stuff, and I'm just gonna drop this on it to start the weight, and then put the rotor on it. And we got 35.5. So 35 and a half for the factory stuff. And that's with the rotor, the caliper, and the brake pads. So let's take this off and get the new stuff on. So the new setup, brakes, rotors, and caliper, we have, well, pads, rotors, and calipers, we have 23.7. So that's 23.7 versus 30.5. So guys, as you saw with your own eyes, that's pretty much 14 pounds of weight off of the rotation assembly. You know, and that's not including the almost 30 pounds off of the front end, you know, doing the M5 setup, both sides. So that's like, I think it came out to that's 6.8 pounds off of each side. So, I mean, that's pretty much 14 pounds, you know, seven pounds per side. That's crazy. But I put the rear rotor on, and I want to show you the good news and the bad news. So let's get right into it. All right, as you can see here, the rear rotor is on the car, and it's so small that the brake dust shield is like engulfing it. It's like crazy. When I paint the dust shield black, I might just get it powder coated black. Yeah, I'm gonna powder coat it black, the front and the rear, when they come off, and it'll look a lot better. But it's super tiny. The only bad thing is these little pins here, which hold the caliper on, I meant the brake rotor on. You can't use them because they don't line up. As the factory uses two, one here and one there, it doesn't line up with this rotor. But it doesn't matter, because once the wheel is on and bolted on, it would have held the rotor on anyways. And also, I still have to put this on, my spacer. So that's 5 points of contact holding the rotor on versus 1 or 2 like the factory. So this is a hell of a lot stronger holding the rotor on to the hub than that little pin will ever be. But yeah, gang, she looking good so far. Good weight savings front and rear. Man, this car is gonna feel like a feather, man, when we take her out to for the test drive. So let me go ahead and put this caliper on. You know, this is where it gets, you know, kind of, nobody knows. You know, no one knew that the brake rotor would fit, but the carrier is supposed to be the same on the rear, the brake carrier. So I mean, the brake rotor fit. So let's see if let's hope that the caliper fit. So let me go ahead and try to pop it on. So I'm done putting the assembly on, and it actually fits. So this is another, I think maybe this is Sasha's 8th world's first mod that's never been done ever. And it looks kind of funky, but since it looked weird, but it's done. So let me let you guys check it out. As you can see, the rotor and the caliper is set. You know, the only thing that looks real weird is, you know, it's just so small compared to the dust shield and compared to the other rotor. But even with that aluminum hat, that other rotor is way heavier. I mean, even holding one in one hand and one in the other, I mean, the weight is dramatic. So this will definitely help get a smaller, well, this will definitely allow a smaller 18-inch wheel on the rear of this X6M. Now I will be able to run a ET Street R tire. So I can run an ET Street R in the rear and an SS up front, which is AKA known as the drag pack. Now Sasha can finally run the drag pack. This will be the first BMW SUV in history capable of running the Mickey Thompson drag pack. And here she is. F10 M5 front brakes and X6 F16 35i rear brakes. That is that's a tiny damn caliper. Jesus, it's small. And for you guys and girls that's thinking, oh man, this SUV weighs 5,300 pounds. Why would he do something like that? Put a smaller and thinner rotor on the rear. If you know anything about braking and how it works, it's 70% up front, 30% out back. That's why it comes with a smaller rotor and caliper on the rear anyways, you know, from the factory. But it's actually better than it was anyways, because it's 400 millimeters up here, it's lighter up here, and it's a more aggressive pad up here. So it's better, it has a better front stopping, you know, dynamics than what came from the factory on the X6M. So I mean, this rear doesn't matter. This is just going to make that tire spin faster, you know, and spin easier because there's less weight on it, and I can get a smaller rear wheel on it. This is a 20. I can go down to an 18 if I want to, and they make the size that, you know, doesn't throw the all-wheel drive off. So even though it'll be an 18 on the rear, it is, the front and rear will still be the same height, as not to, you know, kick the nannies on with the all-wheel drive and transfer case system, you know. So I got that all figured out anyways. But yeah, let's get some driving impressions and see how it feels. far, I mean, she feels like a 5 Series. Like, this car literally feels that light. And then what's crazy is when I let off the gas and let her just coast, she will coast forever now. Like, she doesn't like start slowing down on her own. It's like crazy how light this car feels. And everything is like super responsive too. Man, man, I'm falling in love with Sasha more and more every world's first mod I do. I can't wait to get this world record. Yeah, but man, like she's doing good, man. You can see everything's going good, man. And it's crazy. A lot of people wonder, how is she able to drive with so many modifications, like built engine, transmission, you know, the entire drive line. It's crazy. Upgraded turbos, the fully built fuel system, high and low pressure, you know, and she still drives and idles like stock on a boot mod off the shelf tune, because she doesn't have her custom tune on yet. Not until I sleeve and O-ring the block, because I'm turning the boost all the way up, you know. So I mean, I just wanted to give you guys my driving impression, you know, of the rear brakes. And then, you know, if you decide, I don't recommend anybody doing the rear brakes just for the hell of it, you know. Like, you don't want to take braking away from your rear unless you're getting something in return. Like me, I'm getting a quicker time in return, and I got a way more beastly set up front, you know. So if you're doing both, the F10 M5 up front and then the smaller brakes on the rear, then go ahead. But just doing the smaller brakes on the rear, I wouldn't recommend it. You know, she still stops perfectly fine. I'm gonna bleed the brakes one more time, you know, because the pedal is hard, but not as hard as I would like it. And I do have full stainless steel brake lines, the mid lines, the back lines, and the front, all six lines, because this car comes with 6 lines, not 4. So I'm gonna be replacing all 6 lines. Most people don't want to drop the rear subframe to get to those mid lines, but I'm dropping the subframe and doing those as well. You know, links for this mod will be down in the description. You know, if you want to do this mod, you know, links for the my brake parts, like the little caps to keep the fluid in, and alligator clamps to keep the fluid in, will be down in the description. No need for me to give you any part numbers or any links for the brake setup itself, because I mean, like I said, it comes off the F15, the F16, 35i, X5, and F6. I mean M5. I'm messing up bad. The F15 and F16, X5 and X6. Yeah, man. So I really appreciate you guys, man. Like, share, and subscribe. And Auto Lust out.